Every week I do my best to bring a clear perspective to something that's going on in the world. I think what we need probably more than just about anything right now is perspective. There is so much going on. There are people forcing their opinions and their thoughts and their ideologies on top of us, and we can become so overwhelmed if we don't have the right perspective. I've said this many times before, and I try to live by this when I'm feeling that anxiety build up inside of me. We need to look at what's happening, get below the headlines, get beneath what we're being told, and figure out what's actually going on. And then once we figure out what's actually going on, or at least what's going on to the best of our ability to understand, we need to ask the question, how does what's happening impact my life? How does what's going on, what I perceive to be true, how does that impact what I'm doing every day with my family, with my work, and in all of the things that I care about? So much of what's happening really has very little impact on how we live and what we accomplish. But one thing I've learned, and this is what I want to communicate today, is that in order to have a clear perspective, we must have clear priorities. I'll say that one more time, then I'll try to expound. In order to have clear perspectives, we must have clear priorities. I think one of the reasons, and maybe one of the central reasons, we become so overwhelmed with everything that's spinning around us in our world, and let's be very clear, we are living in a moment in time where there are more things going on, more difficult things, more confusing things, more overwhelming things, more anxiety-producing things, more things going on right now than perhaps at any single moment in history. We've had wars before, we've had pandemics before, we've had political unrest before, we've had racial disparity before and friction. We've had all of these things. I don't know if there's been another time where we've had all of them at the same time, however. But in the middle of all of that, one of the challenges with gaining the right perspective so that we can ask, how is what is really happening impacting my life, is that we refuse to push back long enough to restore clear priorities. Before the confusion happens, before the chaos comes into our lives, before the obstacles present themselves, most of us, if asked, could say, these are my priorities. But when all of those things are foisted on top of us, we forget what our priorities are, and even if we can remember them or think about them, they're no longer clear. And what we have to do is push back from the noise and push back from the chaos and push back from everything else that's happening and restore a clear view of our priorities. You see, in my life, I have some big ticket items that I consider big priorities. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a friend to some. I serve in different organizations and in different areas. There are things that make me who I am and that allow me, if I'm engaged properly, to fulfill the role that I believe God has given me, the thing for which He placed me on this earth. Those are my priorities. Those are things that I've written down, and those are things that I've rehearsed, and those are things that I've formed my life and my actions around. And when I'm knocked off of that, when those are no longer clear in my mind, then I can become overwhelmed by so many things that are going on in the world that at the end of the day have very little impact on whether or not I can live the life I was created to live. I want to challenge you with this. If you desire to have the right perspective on the various events that are taking place in life, on the things that you're being told, on the news items that you're reading, if you want to have the right perspective on what's happening around you, take just a minute to step back, reorganize, reacquaint yourself with the priorities that you once considered important. Get a clear view of those things for which you were created to accomplish. And then you'll notice that your perspective on all of these other things also becomes clear. Do you want to have the right perspective? Here's what you need to do. Get the right priorities in your life.